Three, two, one. Welcome to Bellwether. Another episode for you this week. Thank you for joining. As always, I feel like I'm following a theme as we come to the end of 2020. The last few episodes, and I'm going to continue on this kind of journey. I'm going to walk you through this journey that I've been taking you on. Stepping back. 2 weeks ago, I talked about uncertainty and what it does to us and how we respond to it and the challenges of uncertainty, which brought us to last week where we talked about burnout, which I feel like everybody is dealing with some level of burnout. And we talked about how to solve burnout was through recovery. And one of the ways that we get to recovery is to find those projects that we can just be absolutely absorbed in. And that led me to dust off this idea of a podcast, which I've had for a while, just to ask a question. And on a long run, a while ago, I was thinking about a client, and this was a very long time ago, and this person was very frustrated that he was getting no credit for his work, and he didn't think he was being properly recognized for everything that he did. And I had this kind of aha moment to just ask him the question, which I'm going to ask you today. What did you create? And when we talk about creating something, it's an important question to ask ourselves as we're looking for relevance in the new economy, as we're looking for that job that is the ultimate purpose, or that job that gives us kind of that credibility, that recognition, whatever it is that we're looking for in our jobs. We have to pause and ask ourselves, what are we really creating? And I want to ask that for two reasons, and here's really why you should care. One, and this is beyond just creating a business, but taking something from 0 to 100 is what we all really look for. It's not just pushing buttons at work. It's not just saying, all right, I'm going to check in. I'll move my paper around my desk and then check out and get a paycheck. That's why everybody hates their jobs. What we're really looking for, that job absorption, that ultimate engagement, is when we can take ownership of something, is when we create something and take ownership of it. And when you create something, truly, you have to do it with other people in order to make it successful. So that's one. But two, the more relevant reason why I want to talk about that right now, especially as we're looking at a very uncomfortable, I would imagine, beginning of 2021 from an economic perspective, as we take a look at the impact that the coronavirus is still going to have on us, is that everybody working from home and everybody working actually just in any organization, as we're looking for we're looking at compression on balance sheets and everything else, is what are you going to do to remain relevant and bring value to your work and to your career? And that's one of the big ways that I want to ask the question of what are you creating today? And ownership, I think, is going to be one of the big words. We've talked about self-efficacy, which I'm going to talk about again today. It's going to be one of the buzzwords, but ownership is going to be one of those buzzwords over the next few years. And what can you create is what you're going to have to articulate, is really going to be your value, articulating what you've created and what you've taken to a finish line over the next few years. And that's going to be a key focus for you. If I can give any advice over the next year to 2 years, is start to create your little dynasty of what you've created so that you can articulate it and showcase your value. Now, this is going to manifest itself in many different ways. So it doesn't have to be start a business. It doesn't have to be, create all these crazy new projects. We're going to break that down a little bit so that it's a little more tangible. But today I want to cover three things. One, I want to cover that appreciation for your work in terms of what are you creating and why ownership is important. Not in an entrepreneurial space necessarily, okay? But owning and being accountable for something, for the product that's attached to your name, regardless of what industry you're in. You have a product that you're delivering. I want to talk about that. Number two, why this is relevant in the new economy and the future of business in general. Like, this is the advice that everybody, I think, needs to heed. And then three, how can you use this today? The recognition of your value at the office, your worth, as you plan future years and think about your own personal development, let's talk about what you're creating, because this is being recorded at the end of 2020. Most people are probably, you're looking at your year-end reviews and everything else, and we're planning 2021. So this is a nice pivot point to be thinking about what you can create in the new year. We're coming up on the last 6 weeks of the year. And as you think about your planning for 2021, let's talk about what you can create. That's part of the dream of what you're doing. So let's start with number one. Number one, first, appreciation of our work. The reason we want to create something, and the reason it's so important to create something that we can own, is we have a very different perspective when we take something from zero to finish. When we create something and we could say, this is ours. This is why everyone loves entrepreneurship. This is why everybody loves leaving the corporate world and building something that they can say is their own. This is why people write a book. This is why people build a shed in their backyard. Whatever it is, this could be anything. We don't have to run anything huge. We just have to figure out how to make it our own. If you are being tasked with a project, if you are being tasked with, we have this new initiative, we have this new whatever, how do you make it your own and put your personal stamp on it? When we go from 0 to 100, we understand all of the steps that are needed to get something done. And something happens to us. Something happens to us when we are able to build these things. And that's what happens is we're really building self-efficacy. We're building the steps that we have to take in order to get something done. Self-efficacy, to remind you, I love this word, thanks to Catherine for turning me onto it, is basically you understand and believe in your ability to take the steps, to execute on the steps to get something done. Not self-confidence, not self-discipline, not any of that, but it's understanding what needs to get done. And you don't have a true understanding of this until you create something, until you do it. I laugh when I see people coming in to be leadership coaches who never led people. They read a book. You don't understand what it means to lead people. You don't understand what it means to manage a team until you've managed a team. Because that's when people come to you with these minuscule things. How do you motivate someone? How do you understand the way that somebody else thinks about things? How do you go through all of these different steps until you experience it? And experience is what is the ultimate lesson in terms of understanding what something is needed to get something done. Okay, so that's it. So to go from 0 to 100 to build something, that knowledge you acquire on the ins and outs of getting the minuscule little detail done, those annoying things, and then having to step back and making sure it fits into the big picture, and going back and forth between macro, micro, what little stupid thing do I have to do today versus the bigger picture. This helps you understand and manage something bigger. And that is why we have to create something. We want to create something because we have that full appreciation of this is mine, and I'm absorbed in it, and I'm committed to it, and I'm accountable for it. All of those words that we want to use in corporate, that we tell people they should be, is we have to do it on our own. Now, the problem we have with that is that nobody wants to do anything in corporate. As I think back, I had the opportunity to do whatever the hell I wanted in corporate. And I never knew what it was that I wanted to create. I never made it my own. And that was my own problem. So what we have to do is maybe we start not with a major initiative at work, but we start with something that has more meaning for you. And what is something that you can create? I don't care if it's knitting a blanket, but understanding the steps and the frustration, building a shed, and you're going to the hardware store, and then you come home and you realize you got the wrong screw, and then you have to go back and you have to do all these things. We understand the questions to ask the more we experience things. And then we suddenly appreciate a lot more of the things that we have to create and what it takes to create something. So that's why it's important to ask yourself, what are you creating? It doesn't have to be something major. It could be something light. It could be an article. It could be anything. But create something. And so now you appreciate it. That's one. Number two, it brings us to relevance. Okay, so once you create something, that something has value. Now, it may have different value to different people. That's the way it is. Okay, you could create something that's complete garbage. I'm willing to admit the fact that whatever you create may not be very good, but that's okay. The more you create things, hopefully something will be really, really good. But the value that we want to create and articulate is fundamentally important to your career. And when I think about the new economy and people working from home and the work that we're doing, I'll tell you right now, companies are looking at who can stay and who should go. And for you to be a stayer, for you to be keeping that spot in your home office and the access to the Zoom calls and everything at work and the paycheck, you have to be relevant. And you have to own something. It's no longer enough and sufficient to be an idea person. It's great to have ideas, but you have to execute. Okay? The new economy needs someone who could do both. Someone who just comes up with ideas isn't going to get anything done. So you have to be the CEO of your idea, whatever it is. And you could call yourself the CEO because then you know that you have to make decisions. So you can use other people to drive your idea forward, but make sure you get credit for it. It's no secret when I think about, I want to talk about the new economy and work, is when we talk about creating something and remaining relevant, you are employed to bring value. That's it. You're bringing value to your company. If you're making $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever it is, you are expected to bring that kind of value, more than that value, honestly, to the company. I mean, when we take a look at your job, you are paid for your time to bring more value than what they're paying you to the company. Okay? So that's from a fundamental, simple, basic step. Nobody's hiring you because they want to. Nobody's hiring you because you're a nice person. Nobody's hiring you to do any of this stuff. That may get you in the door, but it's not going to keep you there. What keeps you at your job is bringing a certain amount of value above what you're getting paid. And once you dip below it, you're replaced. And that's just how it works. I mean, it's a little harsh, but that's the way it works. So today, that value is more and more important. We're going to see a lot of consolidation in companies. We're going to see companies getting absorbed because they couldn't keep up with the coronavirus. Once you lose a number of companies and everything gets automated, throw technology on top of it, a lot of people are going to be out of work. And when a lot of people are out of work, there's a lot of competition for a few amount of jobs, which means that you can find the people who bring the most amount of value for the least amount of money. And that's just the way that it works. So today, articulating your value for 2021 is extremely important. And the struggle for many, especially working from home, we used to be able to kind of fake it in the office, right? As long as you're sitting at your desk from, 8 to 6, you can at least pretend that you're doing work. But now, nobody sees you because you're at home. So the only thing that they have to judge you on is your work product. And a lot of people are shaking in their boots right now. The struggle for many is how do you articulate that value that you're bringing to the firm? And if you're doing something that's not bringing you value or bringing the company value or doing something that you cannot articulate in terms of value of what you did and credit for the company, then you should drop it and stop doing it. We have to create something, own something, and build it and show the company that what you're doing is bringing X amount of value above and beyond whatever it is that you're getting paid. And that's what I want to cover today too, is asking yourself, what are you creating that your company will find valuable? Is it a new process? Is it a new initiative? Is it anything? Whatever it is, you have to take credit for the work that you're doing in order to remain relevant and show your value for the future of your company and for you. Okay, so that's 2. Number 1, the reason we want to create something is we appreciate it. Okay, we have a different perspective on it. We understand it and we own it, and that's great. And then number 2, when we create something, we're able to show that we're bringing value to a company, right? Because it's not so much creating something that you love and it's your baby and everything that's great. You have to show other people why it's valuable to them. All right, that's 2. So number 3 is how can you use this today? And the recognition of your value at the office, your worth as you plan future years and think about your personal development. We're at the end of 2020. We're thinking about 2021, right? Many people want to write it off. I am looking at my calendar right now. I have 1, 2, 3. I got 4 weeks left, right? I'm taking the last 2 weeks of the year off. I might have 1 or 2 more podcasts in me for this year, but my head is already in 2021. Okay. And what value am I bringing to my clients, to my business and everything else? Start thinking about the value you're going to be bringing in 2021. So you could be strategic about how this impacts your career. And the recognition of your value at the office, your worth, as you plan for future years and your own personal development, if you're not bringing the value that you want to bring, if you're not capable of owning something or creating something that you really want to create, what's missing from that gap? And how do you fill that gap as quickly as possible? And how do you work closely with someone to do it? What's the ROI of the work that you're doing today? It's something to think about over the next few weeks. And what's the value of the thing that you brought? And what are you creating? And that shows our value, our commitment, and everything else. We can't just wait to be told what to do anymore. If you just sit there, then you're not taking any risk. And the economy, the new economy, the future economy, business in general is going to be reserved for those people who could take smart risks. And we think about risks in a weird way, right? But we have to raise our heads. We have to challenge ourselves. But when we create something, there is emotional risk involved. And it's a different type. Not so much that it's going to fail. Like, that's not so much. But we appreciate something we create because of that emotional risk that we put into something that we want to build. And when we could say that we created this is mine. I think back to books that I've read of people who have built like the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower or the George Washington Bridge, and the pride that they feel. Like, I was part of the person who built that. And they could see it, this massive structure that everybody uses. That's where you get your appreciation. If you're waiting for other people to appreciate something you do, you're going to be waiting for a really long time. Okay? Because you can't control that. You can't force someone to do it. But the way to get proper appreciation is to appreciate what you've done, is to create something. Anybody can have an idea. The difference is making it real and creating it. And that's something to think about for 2021 and for the rest of this year. Okay, anybody can do it. You can do it. We've all got ideas. The difference between the people who have the ideas and the people who are successful with those ideas are the people who execute. And you have to take ownership of your work, and you have to create something, and you don't have to do it alone. You need the idea. You could share the idea, and you can move it forward, but you could be responsible for it. And whether it's fear of failure, fear of humiliation, fear of, whatever that missing link is in that absorption and appreciation for what we do. Just hauling stuff for the people above you doesn't do it. You have to create something for yourself. And that will get you that absorption and that success metric in your mind, that thing that you're missing and that you hope for. So as we deal with the uncertainty over the coming months, which I talked about 2 weeks ago. We've got uncertainty. We've got burnout. Let's take a deep breath and let's talk about what can I create that will give me pride of ownership, that can give me appreciation of ownership, and can showcase my value that will almost be a hedge against any kind of trouble that comes over the next few months. Let's hedge it and prepare it by articulating that value that we're bringing to everybody else into our company. And so I hope that was helpful. Ask yourself that question this week. What did I create? And even if you have created something, ask yourself again, what else can I create? And it's that appreciation from 0 to 100 that will just change your perspective on how things can get done. It's great. Whether it's a race, whether it's a project, whether it's a business, whatever it is, get started on it and take it from 0 to 100. I challenge you to do that. And I'm always here to help you do that because I love asking questions and I love challenging people to do great things. So have a wonderful week. Be productive. For those in the United States, have a wonderful Thanksgiving that's coming up. And I'll probably reach out once or twice more this year with another podcast or two. And then I'm gonna wave goodbye for 2020. And we're going to focus on a nice, productive 2021. So have a great week. Be productive. And I'll talk to everyone soon. Thanks.